are they bending your ear right now, all the young guys?
All the time. Not just this time, but ever since I got here, guys have been kind of leaning in, asking me different things about like, what they expect going forward, and how to look at different concepts and perspectives and on different games and opportunities. My focus is always, to help the young guys and make sure that they're all with us all the time and they're all locked in, because at the end of the day, we need everybody in order to win. This is not a one-man team. This is not a two-man show. This is, all 15 of us going out there and making sure that, when we step into the game, we're all focused and locked in and ready to play.
Is there one piece of advice you give to a young guy asking about the playoff and how the game changes?
Yes. It's a completely different game. My advice to them is just, through all the madness and crazy stuff that's going to be going on throughout the course of the game, all the adversity that you're going to fight, just manage to stay level-headed and stay poised. Never get too high or too low. Always try to be an even keel. And that's what's got me to this point. Always just being, patient, poised, and just being an even keel and not trying to do too much outside of what I do, but just bringing what I do to the game each and every night.
Do you remember what that adjustment was like for you, your first playoff experience? Not that was that long ago.
My first playoff experience was 15 years ago. So, I remember checking into the game. Not checking into the game, but I remember the game starting, and I think I scored like the first 8 points of the game, and I didn't score a point after that. But I started off so fast, and I was so tired because I had started off so fast, and it was just crazy. Like it was like an environment like none other, and like you just can't let it get to you. You have to always remain focused and always remain like locked in and just play your game, play who you are every single time.
Can you feel when an opponent maybe is cracking and losing their personality, and maybe tell your guys, okay, this is it, like this is it, like a couple more, and
yes,
their foot on their throat?
Yes, you can definitely feel it. You can feel when teams are starting to break down and starting to crack, and that's when guys step up and start telling them like, okay, this is our time. This is when we have to take advantage of it. We can't, we got to put our foot down on their neck, and we can't let them like feel any type of energy. We can't let them get any type of runs or anything like that. And when you feel that, that's when you got them, and it's when you know that you have to take advantage of it. And I think this team can really take advantage of of that at any point in time in the games. Philly's a great team, but at the end of the day, all great teams have some point where they don't have good games, or they have spurts where they'll give up a 10-0 run, and that's your way to win.
Can that crack last for more than one game? Like, can you crack somebody and have it like that? That's the series right there.
Yes, I've been a part of those type. I've been on the front end of them. I've been on the back end of them. So, I've been a part of those type of series, and I understand. And those are like when you're cracking, that's the worst feeling in the world. But when you're on top and you feel like you have that other team on the ropes, that's the best feeling in the world, and it keeps you going. And that's when the basket goes from being this big to this big. And that's what we want. We want the basket to be this big, where it's just like, hey, we're throwing shots into the ocean every single night.
What does Philly mean to you? You started there, obviously. Is it still cool to go back there and play?
It's always cool to go back to Philly. Honestly, that's where I grew up. That's where I went from being a boy to a man. Started my family there. Had married my wife, 2 kids. I went from being a kid, just turning 19 years old, 7 days after my birthday, getting drafted, and then, to leaving there at 26, and going to another team. It was definitely a hard situation for me to kind of like pass through, because I thought I would always be there. And when you're the last of everybody, like Lewis Williams, Andre Iguodala, Evan Turner, Spencer Hall, like all those guys, I'm the last of everybody to be traded. That's a hard feeling, because it says a lot about who you are as a person, who you are as a player, that they kept you last. And for me, it's always like Philly always be another home for me. It'll always be great. The fans are always like great. I still talk to the people that sit courtside. I still talk to some of the people that work in the organization all the time. So, yeah, they're family. But at the end of the day, like, I'm with Toronto Raptors right now. This is my new family, and I have to make sure that my new family is going to get this win and get this series.
And the last year telling me in San Antonio that that felt like the first true practice because Fred was back and there was a little bit more organization. But San Antonio wasn't that long ago.
Right.
So now when you're focusing on what the mood has been like and kind of you have the organization with Fred back, but what other pieces do you have now that you're preparing for a postseason with this group?
I think the pieces that we have is just like the togetherness. Like, we all understand what we have to do. We understand the job. We understand the task at hand, and that togetherness is what brings us into the building each and every day, and it brings us and makes us work. It gets us the wins that we need, and it puts us in the mode of knowing that we can trust each other. Like going out there defensively, I know I can trust Fred to be in a certain spot. I know I can trust Pascal. I know I can trust G. I know I can trust Scotty. Like, I think we're getting to that point where we're on one accord, and it's working for us, and we've done a really good job of just executing and making sure that we go out there and execute the game plan. And our coaches, we have a phenomenal coaching staff. Like, when I first got here, and the first scout report that we had, I was like, oh shit, like, excuse me. I was like, this is one of the best reports I've ever seen. And like, just knowing every single time that you're gonna go out there, that you're gonna get a excellent scout report, excellent game plan, and that we as a team have to go out there and execute and make sure that we do the things that we need to do.
When you had a couple of moments in Toronto to get, you said that it was just little things that you thought that the team needs to get in order to be in a position like this. Have those little things revealed themselves in terms of you guys are good now?
Yes. Yes, I think that one was just instilling confidence in some of the younger guys, especially some of the young guys that's coming off the bench and stuff like that. They have that confidence level now. They understand what they need to do. They understand who they are as players, and they understand how they're going to help us win. And then just getting, making sure defensively that we're all in our gaps and we're all doing the things that we need to do, and then understanding that how to take constructive criticism. I think that, sometimes that was a little hard on certain guys, and now, everybody's able to take the constructive criticism, and we're moving on to the next play because we understand the task at hand. We understand how valuable every single game is to win, and how valuable every single possession is that we need in order to win.
Has there been any pleasant surprises really at this point now since when you joined that maybe you weren't expecting to go so well with this team just in such a short amount of time?
No surprises. From day one, when I first walked in, I said, yeah, this team could be special, and we have some special pieces, and we have like a special group of guys. It's just a matter of just making sure that we all together each and every time and every moment that we step foot on the court.
Is it completely, sorry, Doug, one more, is it completely unique to any other team you've been a part of? Or?
Yeah, it's very unique. I think it's unique from a standpoint of like all the guys are like the same height. But the good thing is like we all are interchangeable and we all can play different positions. Like, you never know who can push the break. You never know who's gonna be the shooting guard. You never know who's gonna be the power forward. Like, I'm lined up against Joel sometimes, and it's just crazy. Like, this is like the first time I've been on that plays like without a center most of the time. But we figure out a way to win games, and we figure out a way to wreak havoc on the other team.
What kind of unique held is a Embiid Harden pick and roll event?
Say that again?
What kind of unique held is a Embiid Harden pick and roll event?
I mean, it presents a lot, when you're not guarding it the way you need to guard it. I think, the way we guard it as a team, I think it puts us in a position to fare better against them than we do other teams, because of the simple fact of like when they go screen and roll, we'll usually have bigger active guys on both of those guys, and we're able to kind of switch it and then just kind of like keep Embiid from kind of rolling behind, and then keep James from like getting a direct line on the drive. And then, we try to, send those guys to the help. We try to make sure that they play in crowds, and I think once the pick and roll happens, we shrink the court. And that's what really does it for us. When we shrink the court and make them see multiple bodies and make them figure out, okay, who's the next pass or where they need to pass it to, which 9 times out of 10 they really don't want to pass it to them. So, it just puts us in a better position from how we kind of guard pick and roll. And if we're not executing the schemes, then it's not going to work.
This is the first day you got here, you sort of needed to sit back and read the room and figure out what these guys were, and then you would assert yourself. Mm-hmm. Has that process been interesting, fun, and how much more assertive are you now in the locker room than when you got here?
Much more assertive. Obviously, like, having so much time in the league, guys gravitate to those type of guys because they understand that they have a lot of knowledge and they understand a lot of different things. When we have timeouts, before coach comes to the timeouts, I'm always talking. I'm always telling guys, this is what we need to do in order to win. Like, we'll have a slow start. Okay, these are the keys to not having to getting out of this slow start and getting ourselves back to the game. And just continuing to put confidence in everybody, continuing to make sure that we have that patience. Like, there's been a few games where we started off really slow. We got down 16, 17, 18 points. And, my mindset is always, hey, if it's after the first quarter, we got 3 more quarters to walk them down. Let's take it possession by possession. Let's get 3 stops in a row, score baskets, and put ourselves back in position to get ourselves, back into where we needed to. We're down 20. Hey, let's cut it down to 10 before the half. Just understanding that, it's a long process. It's a long game. And with it being a long game, that, you can always come back at any time.
That as young as this team is it unusual how even keeled the group is?
Yes. You usually don't find guys that's like super even keel and super poised throughout the course of like long games where you might end up down 20 and then end up winning by 17. These type of games have happened more often with this team than I've probably been on any team besides like Indiana. Indiana, we used to always be down 20 and then come back for some reason. I don't know how, but it used to always happen. but having that poise and that patience is a sign of growth and a sign of that, this team can be a really good team for a long time to come.
We just have one question on Zoom for you to end off here. Go ahead, Aaron.
Hey, Dad.
Hey.
How does half-court basketball compared to transition basketball change in the playoffs? How does it become more or less important?
Transition basketball is like, fast-paced, easy buckets. And when you get into the playoffs and, teams start to, key in and hone in on like your strengths and your weaknesses, and those scout reports start to come out and you have to play half court, it's more execution. Just running your stuff to a tee, playing, completely through the whole clock and making sure that, we get the best shot possible. But, not trying to beat double teams, not trying to beat, be in crowds and play in crowds, but understanding that we move the basketball, that we're eventually going to get a good shot. And when we get that good shot, take it with confidence.
How much harder is it to get those transition opportunities in the playoffs?
It's very much so harder for the simple fact of, like, teams are trained and taught to, like, okay, once the shot goes up, especially if it's a team that likes to play in transition, to hurry up and send two guys weak and get back and make sure you build a wall. And I think that's what, all teams do, in the playoffs, because we all want both sides to play in the half-court set. We want to play in transition, but they want us to play in half-court. They want to, try to get us on one side of the court and pin us in and make sure that we just play on that one side the whole game. And that's the same thing we want to do with the opposing team. So, it's definitely much more tougher, for the simple fact of, like, it's a 7-game series and that, you're going to hone in on the strengths and the weaknesses.
Thanks, Dad.
Yep.